tradition, which is obviously, I think, very true, that they didn't come up till after 1641. Their place, they were lords that had a whole barony to themselves called County Monaghan, Armagh Monaghan border, and there were chieftains of there, very distinguished. And supposedly 3 brothers came up here, didn't they? And settled here, and they must have been prolific, and their children must have been prolific because all the McKenna's here, and I have McKenna blood in me. That's by tradition, and the only vague connection with substantiated is that there's a priest's grave here, and the local nickname for it is the McKenna grave is the Hutley priest's grave because it has a figure of a stag, and then people say, oh, you must have liked, the hunt. But the stag is in the coat of arms of the McKenna's, and it sort of demonstrates that obviously there was still their traditions of coming from the Monaghan McKenna's was still alive and well. Any more to add to that, have you?
Why would they come around looking for the onion?
There's a lot of movement of population, and people are pouring into especially South Derry, because a lot of the London companies who got the lands, they're so anxious for rents, they didn't fulfil the laws of the plantation, and that they weren't allowed to allow Catholics land, natives land. Natives were allowed to stay on the monastic estates here. So that might be another reason, but you do get these exotic names coming in that that belong to different parts of Ireland. Having said that, a lot of them are not foreign to here, but to be native local names that have been are changed gradually to these bigger names,
It's a hugely interesting period, and in this particular parish, it's something really like it's what we talked about. Remember that first day we went out to Granahan, the old church in Granahan, and the O'Brolahans there, of what they were doing, and the poetic connections, and they're kind of like almost like preserving. It's like a second. It's been the plantation, and then there's this kind of.
We say Brolin, but you read Bradley. It's the same name. They changed it to Bradley.
And there's McKenna's, there's Cassidy's, there's all these big Gaelic names from other places.
Cassidy's from Anna,
finding some kind of they're finding some kind of haven here for some reason.
Yeah, refugee.
And it's leading to this kind of blooming of art again in the area. It's like a hang-on kind of place. It's really interesting what happens.
Reservation.
Yeah.
Just you probably know Bradley's, do you? They should be very, very proud of their ancestry. I have Bradley blood in me, so I'm quite proud of it. But we can trace the Bradleys right back to quite distinguished ecclesiastics, 11th, 12th century, both in Derry and Armagh. They held very high office. I don't think any became archbishops, but they held other, abbacies and things, why they're here, they're in the Sean family originally.
One of the good
I assume they settled here because of the church lands. They would have had a lot of influence, give us a lands here on this monastic estate or the church estate. So I think they came down here, they say in the 16th century, quite late. I think they were here before that. And once arriving here, they continued to supply priests right down to the 19th century. Very, very learned family. The Dominican priory in Coleraine, it was largely housed by Dominicans, or by Bradleys, priors there, etc. Anglicised the name. This side of the mountains, most of them, the Brolahans become Bradleys. Like my great-grandmother was born a Brolahan, she died at Bradley. Over the other side of the mountain, the Anglicised the Brawley more, same family. You don't get that many Brawleys this side of the mountain, do you?
No, Brawleys, North Derry.
Aye,
but there is another Gaelic name which is proper Brawley.
Aye.
The two became conflated when one
That
was
happens a
anglicised.
lot, like your Malin, the Malahans, but Malahans up here. Yeah. A lot of them became Melons, but you're real Melon, aren't you?
Yes. But Malin
have to DNA them out. Hold them down, Malin.
A lot of them became Mullen. So really suspicious of anybody South Derry who's called Mullen, especially with an E or an I. We suspect that they probably were Malin and Melon, and then north.
See, Mullins shouldn't be here either, but they kept Mullins early on here. Some of the pardons.
Tammany
Mullins, the Ballymullins, they were the main fighting force onto the Canes, or Cahans. And you know, the Banner area, west of the Banner area, is two big estates they call the Ballymullins. And then they're found all over O'Kane lands, like round Glenullen, the estate there.
Ballyane,
The estate round Dumbo too.
But
But they shouldn't be in South Derry, but we do get them earlier. But they, as you said, they might be O'Mellons, you see.
the Reverend Mullen wrote the book, The Ulster
Yeah.
Clans, because he found out that he was originally Mellon.
Ah, is that right?
The name was corrupted. Drummellon up there
The great
at Cookstown.
multi-millionaire, they've got him interested. He's given a bit of money, you know, Mellon.
Yeah.
But his ancestors came from Rhinoma.
Yeah.
But there's some of the same Mellons that drifted over.
There's a St. Mellon as well.
St. Mellon of Corrib and of
What?
Brickland.
St. Mellon.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, who was he attached to?
Well, I came past the football pitch in Lurach there yesterday.
true, yeah.
St. Mellon's pitch.
There's a St. Mellon of Corrib and a St. Mellon of Loch Brickland,
Is there?
which was churchland as well, Loch Brickland.
Oh, aye.
So the families just moved where the churches, you know, they got the land.
Very lovely house. That's the rectory, the Church of Ireland rector here. As you know, the Church of Ireland, they lived off the town, so they were very wealthy. All the poor Presbyterians, Catholics would have to pay for that, you know. Although the Church of Ireland owned to be a minority within the parish, you know. Fine house, isn't it?
Established church.
Established church, yeah.